Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Mamoon Yusaf. Mamoon is an author. I am 75% done with his book. I'm not finished yet. I promised I was going to do it, and I didn't. Last time we spoke, I apologize for that.
What every author wants to hear. I'm trying to read your book. I can't get through it.
It's so amazing. Oh, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. It's one of the best books, especially how it's narrated with your own voice. And I do enjoy the UK accents. Not sure if you want to call it an accent, but whatever it is, it just sounds amazing. And it really touched, spiritually speaking, it really touched me when I listened to your book. And definitely we'll talk about it more. But I always like to kind of allow our guests to introduce themselves, where you're coming in from, what are you involved with, and then we'll continue the conversation from there.
Yeah. So, hi, everyone. I'm Mamoon. I'm a spiritual coach. I'm the best-selling author, as Jahid pointed out, of Inside the Soul of Islam. So as a spiritual coach, I focus kind of on the Muslim or Sufi spiritual path. And of course, all spiritual teachings are universal and open to everyone. And I also, over the years, have, probably because I'm a spiritual coach and I've been quite successful at it, I've been helping other coaches and people who want to kind of get started in their businesses. I've been helping them to set up and create successful businesses of their own. So that's great. Yeah, that's
awesome. So Mamoon, this is a question that, it comes up when entrepreneurs are going about, establishing their business or trying to grow. They think they might not even know this question, but when they become aware of it, it's a very difficult one. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit. What are your thoughts on the, ego-based or will-based entrepreneurship and the spiritual-based entrepreneurship?
I pick spiritual.
Yes, of course.
If I have a choice between the ego and the okay, so great question, and I'm just thinking about it kind of on the spot right now. But
yeah, take your time. This is a very casual kind of show. Like people come here, we just talk like two friends, try to provide value to the audience.
Perfect. So the way I see it, like the ego-based model is, I'm going to achieve a certain amount. I'm going to get a certain number of clients and customers, make a certain amount of money. And then I'll be something in the world and I'll be happy. And there's always this, and then eventually after that, and then I'll be happy. And to me, that is kind of the big trick of the ego it's what I call the I'll be happy when trap. I'll be happy when my business reaches a certain level, when I reach a certain other markers of success in my life, whether it's like finding love or having a family or having a big house and big car, whatever it may be for any individual, or, for some people it's power, money, power, all those things, right?
Fame.
Fame. Oh, celebrities are a huge thing. So it's like, which is interesting because from my perspective, in terms of my spiritual tradition, fame is considered a trial. It's not a thing to aspire to. It's a thing to kind of try and avoid if possible. Now, you're not always able to avoid it. Obviously, sometimes you're in a position where, if you happen to be on the spiritual path and you write a bit of poetry and your name is Rumi, you're not going to avoid fame. You're going to become famous. Yeah. It is what it is, right? Yeah. And that's kind of God putting you in that position. But the idea is it's So
or Mamoon.
or Mamoon, as it turns out. Yeah. Not quite on Rumi's level yet.
That's okay. It's okay. But you're doing it. It's from your heart, right? So you wanna do from your heart. You're not doing it for the fame. You're doing it from your heart. and people can see that and hear that, they feel that, they sense that. It's a different kind of fame, right?
As it says in a book called The Wisdoms, written by a spiritual master, actions are empty shells, but their substance is the depth of sincerity and truthfulness contained within them. So yeah, it's so the question. Like the spiritual power of the author or the content creator is what's ultimately going to have the effect. People are always looking, how am I going to make this content go viral? It's like, I wouldn't focus on it that way. I would focus on how, like, why am I really doing this? And how can I bring the best of what I've got to the people, who are wanting, who want and need and will benefit from what I've got to share. I was saying something before. Okay, you're a great interviewer because I have like 3 trains of thought I want to communicate.
Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just
it's great.
Like, get the conversation.
So I was saying before, it's the kind of the path of the ego is the I'll be happy when.
Yeah, when
eventually get there. Now the problem with that is it doesn't really work that way. That's not where happiness comes from. Happiness doesn't come from one day after I've achieved a certain amount, then I'll be happy. It doesn't work that way. The way it works is happiness comes from thought. It comes at the speed of thought. And the illusion, the ego creates this illusion that I've got to get to a certain place and then I'll be happy. But that's an illusion. And the ego wants to keep you in that illusion. So you keep doing stuff to try and fill yourself up and get happy. But it'll never work that way. It always comes from within. So to me, the spiritual path is simply, it's the path of ease, and it's the path of flow, and it's the path of presence. And it's the path of happiness where you're not waiting to someday to be happy. It's like, no, you can be happy now. You can be content now. You can be connected with the divine now and have that be the source from which you create, the source from which you do whatever you're doing in the world.
Yeah, it's so
That's
beautiful. Because, no, for sure. And, for me, my entire life, I mentioned before, I didn't grow up religious, but I always knew there was something in me, there was something about it. Like I had to do something. So I was going out and it was mostly ego based, right? So I was trying to look at other people, what they're doing, trying to mimic or improve or say what they're doing. Then I would feel icky that they're getting ahead and I'm not, the jealousy stuff and the competitiveness, all that stuff. I had to hit like rock bottom. It had to slap me in the face. And then I realized, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be living this way, not from outside in, it's inside out. That's the true meaning of life. The experience that you want to create, you have to live that way. And with that shift, I realized that this is honestly, in my point of view, is the only way to do business, having that foundation in that spirituality, in the, form and not form, right? Kind of dimensions. To have that both is so important. But a lot of people that are in business, there's a lot of successful people that are not spiritual at all, right? And they're it's mostly on ego, on success, competition, growth, and they do very well, right? So now when someone may ask, hey, why am I going to invest so much time to do all this mindset work, to do all this internal inside out, right? Like I could just be with, I'm not naming any names, but I'll just be like that guy. And, he's doing it. He's just out there. He's just being himself. He's just being real. He's just being the form that he is. He's showing the world that, and people gravitate and they want to do business. He's doing really well. Why do I have to fix what's going on inside? I'm fine. I'm amazing, right? I can do this. So now, that's one of the dilemmas. So what are your point of view or thoughts on this? As an author of this kind of stuff, right? So what do you feel? Yeah, what do you feel?
Right.
What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, the truth is there are many people in the world who are on that kind of ego-driven path of more is better and let me just get all these things and then eventually one day I'll be happy. Now you said that they're doing better. And I would say they may be doing well externally.
Yeah.
Externally, sure.
Yes.
But if you have a choice between doing well externally and doing well internally and externally, like I'm sure everybody through common sense will be like, no, I want to be happy along the way, right? Because the truth is, motivation, like if you're in the illusion, when I get there, then I'll be happy, you might be motivated, but that's not the only source of motivation, right? There's another source of motivation, which is I'm happy now, and this thing I'm working on, it's still worthwhile. And I'll tell you something, I have this course that I run. I normally do it once a year around the New Year time, and it's called Dreams to Destiny. And
I'm
I start out the
invited.
course. Say that again?
Am I invited?
You're welcome, bro.
Okay.
Absolutely. Called Dreams to Destiny. And what we do is
Awesome.
every year I do this course, and I start, and I usually actually do it for mastermind students, people who are going through this training with me and learning about this mindset stuff, the psychological reality. And we start out by saying, look, feeling comes from thoughts, moment by moment. And nothing you do can make you happy, because happiness doesn't come from doing, and it doesn't come from achieving, and it doesn't come from having. It comes from a state of mind. It comes from being.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point in doing all this stuff? What's the point in all of your goals? So I say, after we do a goal brainstorm, I say, all right, now let's look through your goals. Which of the goals on your list are worth doing if? And then and then we go deep. Like, which of the goals are worth doing if you work for it for the next 10 years and you still don't achieve it? Which goals are still worthwhile?
Good one.
Which goals are worth going for if the process of achieving it is incredibly hard and difficult? Which is still worthwhile? Which of the goals on your list are worthwhile if, even if when you achieve it, you won't have an ounce more happiness than you have now? Which goals are still worthwhile? Which of your goals are worthwhile if we just build it that way? Is like, are you just doing this so that one day you'll be happy? Yes. Or is there more purpose and power and meaning behind these big goals you're going for? Because I'll tell you something, you can start a business just because you want to make a bunch of money, but it won't pass would it be worth it if? Like, because my question is, like, if you asked me when I was starting out as a coach over 10 years ago, when I was in medical school and I quit medicine, right? And I started on this journey and I learned Arabic because I wanted to go down the spiritual path of Islam, which requires basically knowing some Arabic and stuff. So anyway, I went on this whole journey, and I decided at some point I'm going to become a coach. I had no idea if and how that could ever lead to like a proper income. That was still a big question mark, because I was literally the only one I knew who had done it. Right. But if you had asked me, would it be worth going for this goal if you could never make a really good living out of it? Would it still be worth doing? I would say absolutely yes. This is my mission. This is my purpose. This is worth it no matter what. This is worth it even if I just about break even on my finances. Like, this is noble in and of itself. It doesn't necessarily require there to be money in there. Now, it turns out, by the way, that when you find goals that are that noble and that meaningful to you, that isn't as superficial as, well, maybe when I achieve it, I'll feel better. Because the truth is, the mind doesn't even work that way. Because if your motivation is when I achieve it, I'll feel better, well, it's kind of like, firstly, there are many people who achieve goals and then they're like, oh, is that it? Is this all there is?
Yeah. Be, do, and have, right?
Right. And you don't have to wait until you have and do. You don't have to do and then have in order to be. You can be right now.
But
right?
that's like majority of people, though, right? That's what they're dealing with because of the conditioning and what they went through, learning from each other. That's that paradigm, right? Is that they need to.
Yeah. And honestly, spiritually, it's totally different, because it's like it's like connect with God now. Yeah. You don't need to go somewhere or do something to connect with God. The very fact that you're breathing,
ever present,
the power source that's letting you experience life is the divine. You don't need to go anywhere for it. Now, you can go on a journey all around the world, but there's fine.
It will always be there with you.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to get.
It doesn't matter where you go.
You're not going to get any closer or any further away, because it's already right there with you. So there's this old Sufi tale of this a wandering dervish, like a spiritual person who just goes and wanders the earth, winds up in a tavern, and he goes to the bartender, and he's having some food, and the kind of bartender says, "You know what I don't get about you wandering dervishes?" And he says, "What?" And the bartender says, "Well, you say that the truth you're seeking is within." And the dervish says, "Yes." He says, "So why are you wandering all over the earth looking for this truth if it's already within?" And at first, the wandering dervish is like taken aback. And then he says, "Oh yeah, this is actually, this tale is retold in a book called The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak." I just remembered. But the wandering dervish takes a step back, and then he says, "It's true that the truth is found within, but only the seekers shall find. Only those who go looking for it will find it."
Yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful way of putting it.
So beautiful. It's when you're ready, right? You know, and
you're ready.
Unfortunately, when we get comfortable with life and the design of it, you know, go to school, get a job, buy a house, get married, have kids, look forward to retirement, right? Like it's a design for us. They kind of lose that touch, right? And it's so important once you realize that there's more to you. It's not just, you know, the physical. It's just, there's so much more to you. And when you tap into that, the experience just becomes with a boost, you know, it just feels everything. Like even grabbing a cup of water just feels different. Taking a sip feels different. Everything, the interaction with day-to-day, moment to moment that we go through, it changes, it shifts. But people unfortunately don't realize it until something bad happens. When they're comfortable with that system, you know, they just go about it. They don't even realize until like deathbed. Like if you Google, you know, top 10 wishes on the deathbed, you'll see most of them were things that they could have worked on if they really understood that foundation.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I was going to share something with you.
Yes.
Beautiful. What you're saying is beautiful.
Thank you. It's okay. Take your time.
Deathbed. There's something about the. It'll come back.
It's okay. Yeah.
What I was going to say earlier is as well on this is like, hey, you can have the external result even if your mindset's all messed up.
Yeah.
There is a thing here which is, when you're in the illusion that something
when you said my mindset is all messed up, you know, when you said that, it just started making me laugh because it's so true, right?
It's like look, when you're in the illusion that something in the outside world can give you a feeling, which it really can't, like no achievement, no compliment. When you're in that illusion, what happens is immediately you've fallen for the illusion that generates stress, insecurity, neediness,
competitiveness, neediness,
competitiveness, all of that,
all the icky stuff.
And the truth is, I'll be honest with you, like you can get away with it maybe for a while, but it'll take its toll on you. And honestly, if you're struggling in business and you're filled with stress and neediness and insecurity, maybe drop that. Maybe drop that illusion and go for the spiritual path to business success, because they're not mutually exclusive, right? You can, like, all we're really saying here is realize that everything you're truly seeking is found within. It comes from thought. Yes. It comes from inside of your own consciousness. Everything you're truly seeking, meaning the feelings you want, the security, the well-being, the connection, the happiness, all of that, the stuff we're really seeking comes from within. And when we realize that, we can still do whatever we want in the outside world. But now we're doing it free from needing. Like I've spoken to so many coaches and they need a client. Oh, I need clients. I need clients. I'm like, but I don't know how much you're going to attract them with that neediness, right? I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, neediness. It's kind of like spraying yourself with client repellent. right? You know how you have like mosquito repellent spray? There's client repellent spray, and it's called neediness and insecurity.
Yeah.
So
that brings me, reminds me of something. Sorry. I spoke to a podcast coach, and he's a quite an influential one, and he helps people, you know, with interviews, right? And when he found out that I don't do any prep, like I don't do any, like with you, did I send you any questionnaire or anything like that? Like I didn't say, give me, what are your questions you want me to ask you, right? Those kind of things.
I was thinking before the call, I was like, was I meant to do something?
Yeah, no, it was nothing, right? You just showed up because I want your presence here. Oh, I don't care about anything else. Like I want this show, I want your presence, and I have my presence. I know how I come to the show. So, and I know how you're going to come to the show, right? And then compared to everybody else, if I don't know how they're coming, that's fine. It doesn't bother me because I know where I'm grounded. I know where I'm coming from, right? So as long as I'm present with the person and I'm there and I'm speaking to them from my awareness, and we're going to talk about awareness a little bit too. And if I'm doing that, and things just come, like everything is coming. I'm not caring for your business. I'm not caring for your money. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if your audience like, I don't, all that. I just here with you, you know. That part, it was like, no, but you should prep, like you should have a strategy and stuff. I go, no, I don't have a strategy, but I'm growing like crazy. So,
well, funnily enough, this is your strategy. Your strategy is presence, and I think it's a great strategy because honestly, it brings something to the conversation that's so much more powerful than just, you know, than what everyone else may be doing.
Yeah.
And
you know, it's the mind dominated strategies, or is it just being, right?
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. I love the way you're doing it.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on the show. You know, it's just really fantastic stuff we're talking about. Now I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that, your Sufism, right? So in Islam, there's like different sects, right? So spirituality is such a beautiful thing, you know, and it opens up a new world, and the way you feel is just you feel so much lighter. I was that guy before. I was the ego entrepreneur. Like that's where I'm coming from. I know both worlds. I know how icky that time was for me, and I knew how horrible it was, and I felt it was so dark. And comparably, I'm saying, right, like what I was going through, the frustration, the anger, the competitiveness, the anything that was pushing me away from what I was trying to set, you know, and it was driving me away from it. I was feeling it. Like I was feeling me being dragged away. And that's when everything collapsed, and that's when everything, you know, revitalized.
By quoting one of the early mystics of Islam, who's also one of the early great scholars that everybody respects, called Imam Junaid. And he said, look, we live in a time that has realities that don't have labels. Like spiritual reality that doesn't have any labels. And he said, there will come a time where there are labels, but no reality. In other words, there'll come a time where people are labeling all these different religions and sects and things like that, but there's no actual substance to any of it. Yeah. And the reason I say this is,
that's deep.
I think the essence of all religions is the spiritual path. I think the spiritual path is the path of all of the prophets, peace and blessings upon them all of the real religious and spiritual traditions across the world. Some of them I know of, some of them I don't know of, but like the true spiritual path.
Spiritual.
They're all spiritual. They're all started by prophets, guaranteed, right?
Yes.
And it's the path of peace. It's the path of joy. It's the path of love. And it's there in every religion. That's the essence of it. Now, it's true. Yeah. Some people can get distracted with the forms and miss the essence.
Yeah.
And that's part. True in every tradition.
That's very nicely put, actually. Thank you.
Yeah, it's true in every tradition that happens, right?
Yeah.
And now the modern age, we want to label everything. So we're like, okay, so spiritual Muslims, okay, let's call them Sufis. Well,
Yeah.
You can, but I prefer to think of it as just the spiritual essence of Islam, because then it's open to everyone who is of that tradition, right? And the same is true. Like there's a spiritual depth to Christianity and to Judaism and Hinduism and all of the religious paths. That to me is the beauty of it. That to me is, now I know a lot of people,
but not everyone finds it, right?
Well, sure, it's true. Not everyone finds it, and that's a shame, especially if you're doing all the hard work. Right?
Yeah,
there are some
that's
people
what I'm seeing. I see
they're working really hard on perfecting the form, and it's like, oh, you're so close, but just But this is what we call in our spiritual tradition. We call it unveiling. Mm-hmm. It's unveiling. Now, the idea is that God is ever present, but some people there's just something clouding their vision. And what we're all hoping for, the purpose of all religious practice, is the hope that maybe it's really us having etiquette towards the divine, in the hope that there'll be a little unveiling and we'll get a glimpse of what you saw when you broke free from the ego pattern of business and found the spiritual path. That was a glimpse. And that little glimpse of the divine changed your life.
Yes.
And the same thing happened.
I want it for everyone, though. That's the thing. Like I want it for everyone, right? So you just try your best. But
the truth is, honestly, everyone wants it for themselves. Everyone in the world wants it for themselves, if they even knew that it was possible and that it exists. Because everyone wants happiness. Everyone wants truth. Everyone wants love. Everyone's searching for their true self, which means everyone really conditioned is searching for the divine.
Yeah, so the conditioned mind kind of stops them, right? Like they all want these things.
Yeah, everybody wants these things, but it's like what happens is everybody's going for them as well, but we go for it based on our current level of thinking.
Yes.
And if your current level of thinking is there is no divine, there's no happiness to be found in this world, it's all over, I'm miserable, I'm just going to, then if that's where your thinking is at, that's what you're going to see. There's this thing they say in NLP, the thinker thinks and the prover proves. So whatever you think, that's what your reality is going to look like. And there's this beautiful tradition in Islam that God says, I am as my devotee thinks of me. I appear to my devotee as they think of me. In other words, God says to us, like, I am the way that you think of me. If you think of me as being completely benevolent and generous and kind, that's what you'll find.
That's exactly what you're going to get.
Exactly what you'll find.
Yeah.
If you think, oh, God must be so horrible. If God exists, it must be so horrible because there's suffering in the world. That's what you're going to find. You're going to find that limit. And the truth is, there is so much beauty and so much love everywhere in my life. And everywhere in the world, it's like it's like when you put those goggles on, that's all you see everywhere.
Yeah.
And now God isn't what we think. God isn't our thoughts. God is that which gives us the power to think.
Yeah.
So it's not this mind-made image, this thing that we make up with our imaginations. It's the thing that gives us the power to imagine.
Yeah.
It's
we can't even
consciousness
comprehend.
itself. Exactly. Consciousness itself, or the source of consciousness itself.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
So like they talk about super consciousness, right? But like you mentioned, for me, I agree with this is beyond that. It's the even creation of everything. Yeah. And a lot of people, especially some entrepreneurs, they say I am spiritual but not religious, right? And whatever the reasons are, that's fine. But
absolutely.
But they're following all the rules, they're doing everything based on what it's required. And they always come to they always come to that point, and they keep like they're present, right? So they go through the training, they're doing everything. They start becoming more present in each moment. They start, taking in their awareness. They start living from their awareness, not from the program mind, right? So they start looking at their thoughts, observing them, then the thought starts changing, right? Their world starts changing. And then they start thinking, that one source, So it's a universe, right? So, okay, yeah, it's universe. The universe this is great. At least they're going into the formless, right? So they're grabbing from the power, and which is good, because universe is we're part of the universe, right? This is all of the creation. But let's go beyond that, because there's an almighty that created the universe. Yeah. So they're peeking in that window, right? They're around that area. You see it all around you, especially if you're working with coaches.
Oh, absolutely.
They're there. They're in the window. They see it, but they just don't want to take that level. They don't want to go. Okay, they don't want to say God, or they don't want to go there. There's a lot of,
and I get that, because a lot of people have a lot of negative associations with God, because when they use the word God, they're thinking of a thing. Like it's like a thing, a personified object thing, like it's an object that exists within time, space, and matter. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense that would be the source of time, space, and matter, right? So one way, I have two things to say about this.
Yes.
Firstly, I love people who are spiritual, not religious.
Yes.
Because honestly, they're the true seekers of this world. Because to get to that point, you have to have developed yourself. You have to. Most people they've gone down the personal growth path. They've discovered that when you go deep into personal growth, it becomes quite spiritual, and they've utmost had personal insight. They've got personal insight into the source of themselves, right? Yeah. As the Quran puts it, do you never reflect on the fact that that not long ago you were nothing, and then you came into being, right? It's like, and that's where people go. It's like, it's the sort, like, whoa, I came from somewhere. So I love spiritual, not religious people.
Yes.
Now, two things to say about it. Number one, a lot of people who are spiritual, not religious, they get this benefit. And the benefit is, and oftentimes they had to overcome negative programming from people who focus on the form of whatever religious tradition they came from. Because in a lot of religious traditions, if you focus too much on the form, it can get all wacky, right? And it misses the essence. So I totally respect that. Mm-hmm. And for me, okay, so a benefit that they get is, I'm spiritual, not religious, so they can benefit from the spiritual teachings of different religions, right? And there's some benefit in that, because there's no one better to learn mindfulness from a Buddhist, right? Buddhists are great at teaching mindfulness. There's no one better to learn about love and forgiveness.
It's mindfulness,
yeah, and then the Christian tradition, beautiful teachings on forgiveness and love, right? There's every world religion and spiritual tradition in the world brings something powerful. Now, so that's the beauty of spiritual, not religious. And I have a friend who's a wonderful coach and a great leader of the coaching industry. And he said at one point, he realized, I'm not spiritual, not religious. I'm spiritual, omni-religious. It's like I believe in the truth that's within all religions. I'm like, wow. Yeah, like now you're getting really, this is almost exactly the same as Islam now, right? Because okay, so here's the other distinction. I was once talking with a spiritual master of my tradition, and he said, if you search for truth and you go to different spiritual masters of different traditions, it's good, but it's like you're digging in this place, and then you're digging over here, and then you're digging over here. And if you dig 10 meters down in 10 different places, that's okay. It's good. You know, it's fine. But he says, but if you go to one spot and you dig, you put the same effort in and you dig all the way down, you're definitely going to hit water. If you dig in one spot and you go way deeper down, and that's kind of the logic and the wisdom of being in a spiritual tradition and going all the way down. Because there are things that I've learned from my own spiritual tradition that it's hard to even communicate or articulate to someone who hasn't gone deep into it. Now I can try, and it's good, and there are some gems that will come out, but that's the challenge. It's like, well, just go a little bit deeper here with me, and you're going to get a lot more. And the truth is that's why the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh and all of the other spiritual masters of other traditions, that's why they stick with their tradition. It's because if you go deep into it, you'll find a lot more than I've heard it called spiritual tourism. Spiritual tourism is fine because as a seeker, you gotta.
That's a good one. Spiritual tourism. That's
but it's like I like going deep into in one place. Now I'll tell you another thing because you brought this thing of like talking about the universe. Yeah. I wrote an article once. I'll see if I can. I don't know if I even published it. It's probably on my blog, but I wrote an article once called "The Universe Does Not Have Your Back."
Oh, I think someone else wrote a book, The Universe Has Your Back, right?
Exactly. That was all the rage at the time. So I just wrote, hey, the universe does not have your back. And I'll tell you why, right? Firstly, the universe is a very cold, dark place. If you were pretty much anywhere else in the universe right now, you'd be dead. Frozen to death or you'd burn to death. It's like very rare to be in a place where. So that's one thing. But it was a little bit of a joke title. But the idea is, look, the most common phrase or terminology people use basically to refer to God these days is the universe. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, I don't worship the universe and never will. I worship the source of the universe. I worship the source of the universe, the soul of the universe. And I'll tell you the distinction. Because the truth is, I realize we're looking for a word that everyone can relate to, like, I think Eckhart Tolle calls it being with a capital B. I like that. Yeah. It's vague enough. But when you say universe, you're literally talking about creation.
Yourself as well.
You're including yourself, right? Now I'll make a little distinction here. This is going to be nice. Here's the logic behind why I don't, out of all the words for God, and I love all the different words for God, but here's the reason I personally, I don't use the word universe, right? It's this. It's that the universe, it's one of the original logical proofs for the existence of God. I don't know if you realized we were going to go here on your podcast, but here we are, right? Are we good? Yeah. So I was saying that out of all the words to describe God, they're all good, and the universe is probably the least accurate, and I'll tell you why. And I totally appreciate we're just looking for a neutral word that doesn't feel like it's got the weightiness of a religion behind it, right? Mm-hmm. But here's why. And the truth is, this is actually one of the most convincing proofs or evidences or arguments really for the existence of God. But it gets lost if you consider the universe to be God. And I'll tell you why. All right. So this is going to go deep now. This is called the Kalam. It's called the Kalam cosmological argument. I didn't learn it in school. I got an A in A-level philosophy, which is just before university level, but I never learned this argument. This came through me going digging deep in the well in that one place. I came across this. Okay. It's put forward by Al-Ghazali originally.
So you didn't learn this from traditional
school
education. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So check this out. Everything that exists within time has a beginning. This is a self-evident truth. The idea here is we're going for self-evident truths. Everything that exists within time has a beginning. Mm-hmm. The universe exists within time. Mm-hmm. It therefore has a beginning. Everything that has a beginning has a cause outside of itself. Mm-hmm. All right. So everything that exists within time has a beginning. Everything that has a beginning has a cause outside of itself. Mm-hmm. The universe exists within time. The universe therefore has a beginning. The universe therefore has a cause outside of itself. Mm-hmm. Now, when I was in school, they didn't teach it this way. They called it the cause and effect, right? Every effect has a cause. But then the cause and effect alone doesn't do it, because then you say, well, then what caused the universe? God. But then what caused God, right? So it doesn't work that way.
Cause and effect will end there, right? With God.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But then if you're saying every effect has a cause, then you're like, well, then what caused God? And then right? So but here's the real deal is, look, everything that exists within time has a beginning. Everything that has a beginning has a cause outside of itself. The universe exists within time. Mm-hmm. The universe therefore had a beginning. Today, these days, nobody argues with that because of the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
The universe has a beginning. Therefore, the universe has a cause outside of itself. If that cause exists within time, then it too had a beginning and has something that caused it.
Yes.
If that exists within time, it had a beginning. Therefore, there must have been something that does not exist within time, something that exists outside of time that has no beginning.
Yes.
And no end.
There's a goosebump moment.
Right? And that is what we call, that's actually the first attribute that we have for God is no beginning, no end.
No beginning. Yeah.
And you can think of it as the source of the universe,
the
soul
really,
of the
really
universe.
Amazing.
Right? But
it's
that's
an eye-opener.
Yeah. And now I realize everybody listening has all kinds of different beliefs and philosophies, and it's all good. It's all good. But this is my reason for why.
We respect each other, right? So.
Totally. This is my reason for why when I pray 5 times a day, I don't pray to the universe because that exists within time. I pray to the thing that exists, that transcends time. Right. Mm-hmm. And the key to that which transcends time is the present. If you want to connect with the source of time,
pure awareness
transcends time, the only way is the present moment.
Yeah. Yes.
You start thinking of the past, you start thinking of the future. Now you're in the illusion of time, but you're missing the only time that actually exists.
The connection.
Which is now.
Connection to pure source, right? Connection to the one and only is in the present moment always, and this in the pure conscious awareness. When you spend more time there, it feels like that stillness just starts getting more attractive and more fun. At the beginning, because you're coming out of your mind, you're like, there's kind of nothing going on. Like, it's like, what do we do? This is boring. What are you talking about? I talk to people, right? Say, it's okay, but there's nothing happening. There should be something happening, right? They only feel it after a while, right?
Yeah, so. Exactly. And the funny thing is, it's like when you become intensely present. I do this with my coaching clients sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I'll have a group coaching thing, and I'll say, okay, I'll ask everybody to write down all their challenges, all their problems, and they'll write them all down. Great.
Yeah.
The stuff that's really getting to you, the stuff that's really been on your mind a lot, write it down. So they write it down at the beginning. And the reason I have them write it down at the beginning is because after they do what I share with them, they won't have any problems anymore. But I want them to have the written evidence that they did before we started. They write down their challenge, like, oh, my spouse said this to me, and my in-laws, I don't know, whatever. They'll write down all their challenges.
Yeah.
And then I'll start talking about presence, like bring all of your attention into the present moment. Yes. Realize that this is the only moment that exists. Notice how the past is an illusion and the future is an illusion. Keep all of your awareness there. And we do that for a few minutes, and people go deep into the present moment. And then I say, okay, raise your hand if you have any challenges or problems in life. And they're gone. Like it's like a magic trick.
The more you spend time
they're literally
there.
gone. Like in order to bring them back, you have to leave the present moment. You have to go imagining. You have to either go into the future. Oh, I've got to sort this future, or all these things happen in the past. But when you're in the present, they're gone. And it's because you're connected to the source of the universe. It's like,
so
can you have then?
You can't have any problems. No, you can't have the worldly problems in that place. And you'll see a lot of coaches and people, that work on this stuff. And what we're referring to, they're not there right now, right? So they're having trouble to get that internal paradigms or the internal belief system shifted, because that is very important as well. What's going on inside, you need to kind of change that, right? But they're working on that with will, right? Will, a little tap of some ego, right? They're trying to get it that way, but it's so much easier when you become present, because you're just, like you said, you're just working from that power now, right? It simplifies everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
It really does. And it's beautiful.
Everything.
It's exactly. And suddenly you're in flow. Suddenly your business flows. Suddenly intuition. Remember intuition? That's a cool thing to have if you're trying to run a business. Yeah. Great to be in touch with it now and then. That flows. Any business problem you have, any business problem you have, any business challenge you have, leave it to presence. Just decide to drop it and be fully present and watch it undo itself. And you know what? Beautiful. The Quran says this. Wait, let me see if let me see if I can remember this one. There are two sayings in the Quran. I don't have them properly memorized, so I'm just going to give you like the gist of the translation, right? So one is be conscious, as in conscious of God, but also just conscious, aware. It's the same thing. Be conscious, and God will provide for you from where you didn't even imagine. This is a secret to abundance. Yes. Be present. Be conscious.
Be present.
God will provide for you from where you didn't even see. And the other one is
beautiful.
The other one is be conscious, and God will find a way out for you and provide for you from where you didn't see. So it's kind of like we try to like intellectually, academically
get in our own way,
will our way through our problems, but that's the hard way. There's a path of ease and flow, and it comes through. Ease and flow.
And it's gifted to every human being.
Yeah. There's
beautiful. So because when you're tapping into something like that, you literally feel like your body, when it happened to me, when that, awakening happened, right? It was, I honestly, there's no word of lie. Like I'm 290 pounds, 90 pounds, right? 6'4". So I'm shorter than 6'4" now, apparently. I don't know if gravity did something to me, but I'm decreasing it because of my weight, maybe. But what was I talking about? What were we talking about? Sorry.
Presence and when it happened for you.
Oh yeah, when I awakened, like I'm heavy. Like I've always felt that weight, like it was there, right? It was just habitually there. But the awakening, when that happened, I felt weightless. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I tried to research it. I tried to look at it. I am thinking it's just my muscles that were tight. They just, something happened to my physical body that even the organs, everything just went, oh, finally, you found it. This is what you've been searching for. It's like, boom. It's like, oh, relax. Like it's just, and I've been light like that since. Like it's just been flowing,
It's heavy, man. It's heavy on the soul to be trapped in such heavy, thick layers of what we would call ego, but it's like, I'll be happy when, and that something other than thought is going to cause my feelings. So I'm like here's a way of looking at it. You are automatically forced to think about anything you believe has the power to cause your feelings. You can't help it. If you believe something has the power to cause your feelings, you are thinking about it all the time, right?
Yeah.
If I think my business can cause my feelings, I'm obsessively thinking about my business. Maybe not even solving anything or doing any well in business. But
I was just thinking about it.
If I think that my wife, or if I think another person can cause my feelings, I'm thinking about them all the time. Right. I remember when I was single, if I thought that if I was being insecure and I thought that the girl caused my feelings, I was like, I can't stop thinking about it. Like it goes both ways. Sometimes it's happy thinking, sometimes it's terrible thinking, but you either way, you got
a little nervous when you talked about the girl thing.
Yeah.
Hey. It's okay. It's past.
I still get nervous when I talk about my wife. I'm like, really? That's so funny. No, but it's so funny. It's like anytime we believe something has the power to cause our feelings.
Yes.
We do get nervous. We get insecure.
We give the power away.
We start imagining, we start overthinking about that thing. Now, the secret is realizing only thought in the moment causes feeling. All of a sudden, your mind's empty. All of a sudden, a quiet mind is a present mind. You find yourself in the present moment. All of a sudden, you still operate logistically in life as you did before, but now you're operating from, it's like you've plugged into a divine power source rather than a very very choppy, worldly power source.
Or like your localized power source, or your ego, right? What you see in the mirror.
Power source,
it's like, oh, look, I'm muscular, I'm big, I wear nice clothes. Like I'm going to conquer the world, yes, let's go. But that's so very small to what you are. It's very weak.
Yeah. Cause it's like,
you're blessed with that. Yeah.
So it's like, look, check this out. So it's like you automatically will think about whatever you believe has the power to cause your feelings. When you realize nothing causes feelings, it comes from thought, your mind quiets down. Now there's this thing in our spiritual tradition called dhikr, right? Z-I-K-R, dhikr.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I call the life-changing power of bringing God to mind, which is the life-changing power of being present. And the idea is you'll always do zikr of whatever you believe can cause your feelings. So now in our tradition, we're meant to bring God to mind. But if I believe this phone can cause my feelings and the person that might call me, and I believe my bills and taxes and money, and if I believe all those things, then my mind is occupied with all of those things. There's no space for God. There's no space for present. I'm too busy. I'm too busy up here.
Yes.
So the spiritual path, which is also just the path of success, is literally a matter of quieting that down.
Yeah.
Realizing nothing causes feelings but thought itself. And then doing whatever you want to do in the world. And you'll be doing it.
Everything becomes fun.
While being plugged in. Everything's fun and everything's joy, flow, and eise because you're plugged into the divine power source.
Yeah. It just feels good. Like, a business partner of mine, and they were going to a meeting, and it was like a pretty big meeting. I guess you could say, life-changing, you would say. I stopped looking at that now, but it was that type of meeting. And so we got to do this. We got that. No, let's just go. Let's just relax. Before I'll be like 4 or 5 days, like, oh my God, worrying, right? Like all the different things that could go wrong. Well, I would say this, I want to say that. I don't care anymore. It's just, you just become truly free. And that's the key. So, oh man, it's such an amazing time I had with you today, and talk to you about all this stuff and grasp your knowledge. When we first met, I just energetically, I had to get you on the show, spread your awareness, spread your message, helping coaches do better in business. Come on, anybody who's giving, like anywhere I can help, I want to. I wish you all the best in your growth in your business. I hope you serve millions of people, bring this awareness, bring this happiness for them and their families and their kids, future generations. This is how important all this is, because once you bring this into your life, what Mamoon is talking about, you will start understanding what life truly, truly is. You start living from inside out. You just find that peace that you were looking, that fulfillment. We get into business, we were chasing that fulfillment. You get that now. Why wait? Get it now. And Mamoon is an open door policy, just like mine. Like, you connect with him, message him in the show notes. Yeah, we'll have all the information for Mamoon in the show notes as well. Right now it's live. We're going to delete everywhere after this interview, but we're going to publish when we do. Keep an eye out for it, the episode, and get in touch with Mamoon. Mamoon, if you have any last final words that you want to share?
I feel like I need to say something super wise now, but it's all
no. Remember,
I would say, firstly,
you.
any coaches out there, and if you're looking for a spiritually grounded but also very practical and down to earth way to grow your business, go check out neverendingstreamofclients.com. That's how you can get more from me. I think that's it.
That's perfect. That's great.
Continue the conversation.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Keep in touch, Mamoon. If you're ever in Canada, DM me, and keep in touch. If anywhere I can help or serve, let me know. If you want to do some kind of a live or something on my Instagram, let me know. Like I'm getting those kind of requests. I want to start doing that. Live conversations on the platforms outside of the podcast. Yeah, and I'll definitely
bless you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with your awesome audience. And thank you all for
so much
being here. Yeah,
perfect,
great.
All right, everyone, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.